Let's talk about this. I may have bitten off more than I can chew. So in January, February of 2024, I wrapped all of my unread books and I said, I'm gonna put all the numbers in a jar and I pull a number, I read that book. Sounds like a great plan to diminish my TBR. Now, in doing this, I found out a couple of things about myself. One, I am very much a mood reader. So if I'm not in the mood for it, I will just avoid that book at all costs. And the second thing is, if I can't see my books to know what's there, I can't pick adequately. This was a really great idea in theory. This does not work for my brain. Trial and error, what can you do? But I thought that since it's Christmas, or we just had Christmas, we could do this Christmas present style, TBR jar style, pull a number, unwrap the book, see what we've got going on. Now, as I unwrap these books, as I go through everything that is here, I had 110 left. I counted them just the other day. I'm pretty sure I have 110 books sitting in front of me. I am also going to be unhauling some of these books. I need to get rid of them. There are some books that were wrapped, and even as I wrapped them, I was like, I'm never gonna read this. I'm no longer interested in this. This no longer makes me, like, my heart do a pitter patter, and it's just not in my wheelhouse anymore. So we're gonna do this kind of rapid fire. I'm gonna pull a thing, I'm gonna pull a book, we're gonna wrap it, keep, get rid of, and we'll reconvene when I'm done. But that being said, because of the nature of this video, it may be a bit longer than you're used to. So just bear with me. I hope I see you at the end of this video. What better way to get started than to just jump right in, right? Oh no. Yep, that's what I thought. The Chance by Karen Kingsbury. I've heard Karen Kingsbury is very good. I am not interested in this book. We're gonna donate. We're off to a good start if I'm getting rid of the first book. We're making room for new books. The End of Me by Kyle Idleman. We're gonna keep this one. I've been meaning to read this book for years and I just never got around to it, but I definitely want to read this one. I have several like theological self-helpy books that I actually want to get around to reading. Oh, this paper does not rip well. Ooh. Okay, I didn't do that. Dracula, Book of Great Horror Stories, edited with introduction by Leslie Shepard. It has got Charles Dickens, Captain Murderer, Guy de Maupassant, The Inn, Jerome, The Dancing Partner, H.G. Wells, The Cone, E.F. Benson, Caterpillars, Bram Stoker, The Judge's House, M.R. James, Count Magnus, H.P. Lovecraft, The Festival, L.P. Hartley, The Traveling Grave, and Algernon Blackwood, The Wendigo. I bought this book specifically because it was like an anthology of short stories and like classic horror. I'm keeping it. The Window by Amelia Brunskill. Ooh, it's a thriller. I love a good thriller. You know I've got to keep it. This is a used one, but I've seen this at Walmart and I've started to buy it. I'm glad that I haven't yet. Kiss by Ted Dekker, Aaron Healy. My goal in life is to own every Ted Dekker novel. Obviously, I'm keeping that. What? The Sasquatch Hunter's Almanac by Sharma Shields, a novel. It's an autographed copy? Oh my god, it's an autographed copy. What even is this? Okay, but why do I kind of want to read this? This is going to go in the maybe pile for now. We're going to have to come back to this. Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpreto. I hope I said that right. Ooh, this has got sprayed edges. I love a good fantasy. We're keeping her. Probably went to the top of my list. See, and this is why you don't wrap your books. You can't see what you have. James Patterson, The Postcard Killers. You know, I liked James Patterson's like YA stuff. Not so much his adult stuff. Bye, James Patterson. You will be missed. Ooh, she a thin girl. She real thin. Oh, I can already tell you exactly what this is. This is C.S. Lewis on pain. Yeah. C.S. Lewis, Problem of Pain. I would also like to have all of the C.S. Lewis novels, honestly. I have not finished Screwtape Letters, which I've started twice, but I want to. Keep. I hope you guys are having a good time because I'm having a good time. The Lake by Natasha Preston. This is one that I think was a gift from someone, and it is honestly on my TBR. I've seen a couple of good things about it, so we're going to keep it. Robert B. Parker, A Suspense Mystery, Painted Ladies. I think I thought this was something different. I think I bought this book because of the cover. I actually think I'm going to keep this. I think I want to read this. I think I want to find out what happens. Destined to Win, Chris Valaton. How to Embrace Your God-Given Identity and Realize Your Kingdom Purpose. I actually think I'm going to keep this one. I think I purchased this with my own money. It wasn't like a gift or something that I had to buy for a class. I think I picked that out at IHOP when I went for their like New Year's thing. Yeah, there's no way I'm getting rid of this. Mythology by Edith Hamilton. I love mythology. This is like the history. Yeah, there's long been a need for the stories of ancient mythology written to appeal to the 20th century mind. You can never go wrong with mythology. I love this. If you ever want to win me over, you buy me a book about Greek gods and goddesses, and I'm here for it. That or dragons. Why is this as thick as my head? I don't understand. Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. I think there's another YouTuber that I really like named Ian, and I can't pronounce his last name. But I want to say that he read Joe Abercrombie, and he really liked it. And I like a lot of his same books. I've had this on my shelf forever. How long is this stinking thing? 630 pages. That's not bad. It looks like it's about war, and I'm always down for a book about, like, battlement. So the Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig, I bought at Pearl's Bookstore in Fayetteville, and I've been meaning to read it forever and ever, and I thought that I got rid of it and was gonna have to buy a new one. Shh, keeping her. Kaleidoscope by Brian Selznick. This is about two people who are tied together, bound by time and space. I thought this was something completely different, and that's why I haven't been reading it. This was a gift, I want to say. I think it was either a gift or I stole it from my mom's library. Mind War, Book 1 by Andrew Clavin. You know, video game, like mind melding kind of stuff is normally my cup of tea. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm never going to read this. It's been sitting on my shelf for years. I never gravitate towards it. Shadow of the Fox. This one I thought I started at one point. But I got this in a Owl Crate box, I think. Either way, this is definitely one that I want to keep. I want to say this is a romance. Or not a romance, a fantasy. But I don't think it's a romantasy. But I think this one is like more YA. When Destiny Calls, Legends Rise. I love like the chosen one trope and post-apocalyptic, end of the world. Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. I actually have a friend who knows Colleen Hoover in real life, and they're really good friends. And I Hate me all that you want. I like Colleen Hoover's books. They're a fun time. I'm down for it. This is not going anywhere. A Haunting on the Hill, a novel by Elizabeth Hand. I love the hauntings of books. The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Ashburn Manor scared the fire out of me. I loved when they did A Haunting of Bly Manor. I love scary books. I love scary books. We're obviously keeping this one. Listen, let's be really honest. We're going to keep like 95%. I can't get rid of Wicked. It's got sprayed edges, especially since the movie just came out. I really need to read it. I saw the play on Broadway the summer after my senior year in high school, and it was a phenomenal experience. My first one, that's 2 books, 68.1 and .2. Let's see what's going on. I actually think I know what this is. Oh, I don't know what this is. 68 is Reflected in You and Entwined with You by Sylvia Day. These are what I call no thought, low plot books. These are rated R. I'm so sorry, Mom, but I read the first one like 3 years ago and I really liked it. And so here are the next 2 and we're not going to ask any questions. Clinging to God's Promise. In the Midst of Tragedy, Inheritance. I think I bought this after Caleb died. By Corey Russell. I actually really like Corey Russell's teachings. If you want to see me do a reading vlog where I just read theology and like Christian self-helpy books, let me know. I have several. Hardback. I forgot I bought this. The Fall of the House of Usher and Other Stories That Inspired the Netflix Series. Foreword by Mike Flanagan, creator of The Haunting of Hill House. Edgar Allan Poe is just one of the best. I didn't know I owned this. I want the whole set. I didn't know I owned this. This is why you don't wrap your books, kids. Mother Knows Best by Serena Valentino. They've got a whole series of the Disney stories, but from the perspective of the villain, and this is Rapunzel. I didn't know I owned this. I almost bought this the other day. I'm glad I didn't. Dadgum. Oh, The Orphan's Tale. I got this from a friend. I think this might actually be her copy. But I read A Paris Key. I read a book about a girl who was living in Paris, and the timeline jumped back and forth between her and another girl living in the same city during World War II. And it was incredible, and I loved it. And my friend said, if you loved that book, you should read The Orphan's Tale. This is going to be a good sit down and cry book. Crier's War by Nina Varela. One mortal, one made, one loved, one betrayed. It's another fantasy. You can't go wrong with fantasy, my guy. Why do these feel so, like, short? Ooh, I gotta change my battery. I'll be right back. But we're keeping her. 10, Misfit by John Scovron. We're gonna get rid of this one. I don't even remember why I picked it up. I know I got it for really cheap, but it no longer holds any interest to me. Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. Keeping this one. It is another fantasy, obviously. Is Witchwood by George Mann. I bought this a couple of months before I packaged everything up, and it was at the top of my list before I stuck it in a brown sack. So, keeping that one. I think that one's supposed to be like kind of creepy. The Last Miss Parrish by Liv Constantine. I don't even have a book jacket. I have no idea what it's about. I pulled this out of a free little library. It's gonna go back into a free little library. Half Sick of Shadows, Laura Sebastian. A Story of Camelot is hers. It is a female retelling of Camelot, I believe. No, it's King Arthur told from a female seer's perspective. Obviously, I'm keeping it. I also love King Arthur's court. See, this is what I'm saying. The screw tape letters. I'm keeping this. I'm gonna read it, I swear. I swear I'm gonna read it. The Bride Collector by Ted Dekker. Another Ted Dekker. I'm keeping it. I really want to read all of Ted Dekker's books. I just brought the Heaven trilogy back from my parents, so that's exciting. The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. I think this is about, like, peculiar children. Always a fun time. I'm actually going to put this in the maybe because I don't know if I actually want to read this or not. I'm kind of up in the air on that one. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Robert Louis Stevens' Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is an anthology with all three of those stories in it because I have read none of them and they're classic horror stories. How have I not read these? The Kite Runner. It's a modern day classic, I think is what it's classified as. And I've never read it. This is one of those books that you read in high school. And I took AP English and like skipped all of the fun books in high school. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John John Burnett. Rip. Keeping this one. I don't know why, but I thought this looked really interesting. I think I picked it up for the cover. Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. Also a fantasy. You can never have too many. I'm gonna have to reorganize my bookshelf. Probably by genre. And fantasy is just gonna have to have its own little like couple of shelves. The Explicit Gospel by Matt Chandler. Now, interesting. These are the only books that I will like highlight and write in because I'm supposed to be gleaning information and knowledge. I do like his teachings. I loved his like Imago Dei and relationship sermons. Those are really good. Bet it's another Christian book. Oh! Okay. Let me be very clear. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, okay? But it's The Shack by William P. Young. I've had this book forever. I don't know. I just have never gotten around to it. I have to keep it because I'm gonna read it one day. I swear it. Girls of Paper and Fire. Obviously another fantasy. In my land, we're known as paper girls. Easily torn, existing only for others to use and discard. But there's something they've all forgotten about paper. It can light the world on fire and make it burn. I love a female lead. Love a strong female lead. Steve Kavanaugh, 13. The serial killer isn't on trial. He's on the jury. Ooh! That sounds really good. And this is how I find books. That's basically how it goes. Honestly, that sounds so fun. Like, what a wild, like, turn of events that would be. Could you imagine? You're on the jury for the murder you committed to cast judgment on and give a verdict on an innocent man. Angelology, a novel by Danielle Trussoni, author of Angelopolis. Is this a second? I do this thing where I find a book that I think it looks really cool and then I'll buy the second one. No. One of the original branches of theology, angelology, is achieved in the person of the angelologist, whose expertise includes both the theoretical study of angelic systems and their prophetic execution through human history. I love weird stuff, and I feel like this is going to be real weird. I'm interested to see what kind of light it actually paints angels in. Obviously, I'm keeping this. Dustlands, Blood Red Road by Moira Young. To escape, she'll have to fight. To survive, she'll have to lead. I think I'm going to pass on Dustlands. The Wrong Family, also one that I almost bought recently, by Taryn Fisher. keeping that bad boy. Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to be some kind of hero, but when your whole life gets swept up by a tornado, taking you with it, you have no choice but to go along, you know? Sure, I've read the books, I've seen the movies, but I never expected Oz to look like this. A place where good witches can't be trusted and wicked witches just might be the good guys. A place where even the yellow brick road is crumbling. Enough said. Ah, here it is. Unqualified by Stephen Furtick. I like the concept of this. God doesn't qualify. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called, and we're never qualified for what what the Lord sets us up to do or what he puts in our heart, but he will give you the gifts and the knowledge you need and the people along the way to make it happen. I'm a firm believer in that, or I wouldn't be doing this. I'm not qualified to tell you about books. I didn't go to school to critique books like Jack Edwards. I'm just a girl in her apartment in Arkansas telling you what books she likes to read and what she thinks and giving you a fun little rating. That's it. I'm not qualified for that. Amber and Dusk by Lyra Celine. I think this is another fantasy. This one, however, I think I'm actually going to pass on Amber and Dusk. It just doesn't make me want to pick it up, you know? The Biggest Lie in the History of Christianity by Matthew Kelly. How modern culture is robbing billions of people of happiness. Again, one of those things that I would love to read and see what they think. All of these books that I'm talking about, I have not read. I do not know the contents of these books. I only know what they are putting out into the world and their concepts, their thoughts, what they have researched. I am not by any means, because I don't know if some of these books are going to say some crazy stuff. I am not by any means condoning what they're saying. If I do a video on them, then I will give you my opinion on the content of the books. It's just a book that I want to read because it seems interesting and knowledgeable. So please don't come for me if one of these books says something crazy. Because we know not everybody's perfect. Kind of the whole concept of the gospel, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about books. 10 Tiny Breaths, a novel by K.A. Tucker. I think this is about a woman. Just breathe, Casey. 10 tiny breaths, seize them, feel them, love them. I think this is a mystery romance. And honestly, I'm here for it. I think it's used, but we're gonna keep hold. Tool of War by Paolo. I cannot pronounce your last name. I'm so sorry. It seems similar to Zoo by James Patterson, but I also still kind of want to read it. It's half man, half beast. I think he's a scientist. Don't quote me on that. We're gonna keep her. Ted Decker. You know what pile this is going in. Can you take a guess? It is Burn by Ted Decker. I've got one of his books that does not have a sleeve, and honestly, some of these I would love to get new copies of because they have seen better days. She is short and fat. Ah, of course she is. It's Stephen King's Needful Things. I also want to own majority of Stephen King's novels. I hope this is better than Cell. Heck yes. Oh, The Bone House by Emily Lloyd Jones. I do really want to read this one. No warrior could stop the risen dead, but perhaps a grave digger could. That just sounds cool, right? You can't tell me that doesn't sound cool. You know, I'm not gonna lie. The Gilded Wolves, I think I read. It's Gilded Wolf by Rashani Chokshi. I'm really interested. I love when they have the beveled edges. Another fantasy. Have we learned nothing from Chastity's book collection? 23 is Labyrinth, a novel by Catherine Coulter. I bought this about the same time that I bought Angelology and a couple of other books. It just sounded super dark and creepy and really exciting. Oh, John Green and Abundance of Catherines. I didn't know I owned this. I read Paper Towns, Looking for Alaska, and The Fault in Our Stars. And y'all, I had a signed copy of The Fault in Our Stars when I was in high school. And I went through this phase where I sold off a bunch of my books. And that's one of them that I sold. And I regret it every single day of my life. I do. Oh, this one I do want to read. But I think this is going to be a book that I read like over the course of a year. It's John Fox's 19th Century Classics Book of Martyrs. They're just so they're so meaningful, and I think that they're stories that should be read and remembered. I forgot I put that one on there. That's not a sit down and just read in a day kind of book. That's you have to sit with those stories a little bit. 29. Oh, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Again, another classic that I really want to read that I did not read in high school, which is when a lot of people read The Scarlet Letter. Scavenge the Stars. Yet another fantasy novel. Wow, I have a lot of fantasy novels. Expiration Date by Eric Wilson. I thought I'd read this. Eric Wilson sits right up there with Ted Dekker for me. Love this author. I read his trilogy, the Jerusalem Undead series, and I loved it. Cold Brook by Tim Leben. Knuckle whitening terror, top rate storytelling by Fear Net. Will a door to another earth mean the end of for this one? Ooh. Ooh. Oh yeah, I'm totally reading this sucker. Oh, somebody dog-eared the page. No. Stephen King's The Outsiders. I can't wait. Stephen King gets his own shelf. Let me be very clear. Dark Cities. All new masterpieces of urban terrors. 20 of today's most talented writers bend their skills toward darkness, creating brand new tales guaranteed to keep you awake at night. I'm gonna toss this in the maybe pile. You have seen me pull and read a couple of thrillers, and I read a horror novel, but something about that one is just no longer interesting to me. Doomed by Tracy Debs. I can tell you right now, I think I'm out. It is beat the game, save the world, and I don't know what about it is. I'm no longer, this doesn't sound fun. I really want to read this. This is Pride and Prejudice by Iba Zaboui. I hope that I got that right. And this is Pride and Prejudice, I think, told from... It's a modern day retelling in Brooklyn about people of color. The Cult of Fog Island. Of course, how could I forget, by Marriott Linston. A nerve-shredding thriller set in a modern cult. I love the, concept of a cult. Cults are bad. Bad cult, bad cult. The concepts in a book setting could be fun. Stephen King, Different Seasons. I feel like every time I pull a Stephen King book out, it just gets bigger. But I read it, so I can definitely read this one. The Guinevere Deception by Kristen White. I didn't know that I had a second Camelot book. Princess Guinevere has come to Camelot. I have to read it. You can't not. Rooted, the hidden places where God develops you. I hate that all of these have been sitting on my bookshelf, just untouched for so long. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. It's a short read. The font is large, but I do want to read this one. I want to say it's a father and son walking through America alone after the world has burned. Unbreakable, the Legion Book 1 by Cami Garcia. That is one that I have known since I wrapped it that I would probably never read it, and I should have just gotten rid of it from the start. I don't know why I kept it. 88 is... Oh, my trash pile is huge. The Visitation by Frank Peretti. I read some stuff with Frank Peretti as the secondary author, and I really liked them, and I think that's why I got this one. Sighting of Angels, a weeping crucifix, image of a Messiah in the sky. It just sounds cool. It just sounds really cool. I'm positive I know what both of these series are. So this one will be going on my floating shelf in the living room because I really, really, really want to finish this series. I read the first 2 books a couple years ago, loved them, bought all 4, have not finished them. Carrie Maniscalco, Escape from Houdini, and Capturing the Devil. I read Finding Jack the Ripper and Hunting Count Dracula. Don't quote me on those titles. Don't quote me. But I loved them. I really want to finish this series. Spellfall by Roberts. I don't have any clue as to what this is. I'm going to say goodbye to that one. This, The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is if I remember correctly, do not quote me. This is a Disney retelling with some spicy romance in it. And there is, I think, a trilogy. I think there's 3 of them. I bought the first one forever ago when TikTok recommended it to me, and I have not read it yet. 30 is 3 books for a series that I saw when I was in high school. And I really, really wanted to read it, and I just never got around to it. And then I bought them as an adult, because I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna read it. And then I wrapped them. These are right up my alley. They are fantasy. I think they got a little spiceless romance in them. Not mad about it. But it is the City of Bones, The Immortal Instruments. I got the first 3 books without reading any of them. And obviously I'm keeping them. We still have 1 and 109 in this pile, which was the very first book and the very last book that was wrapped. And I think it's kind of poetic, and I think I might just save them to the end because they have not come up organically. Watch me pull them both in the next round. I'll be something. Heath Adamson, The Bush Always Burns. Jesus in the Unannounced Moments in Life. All about finding Jesus in moments where you're not expecting him or necessarily looking for him. Yes. John Connolly, The Unquiet. This is a horror novel, I believe. And honestly, it just looks really creepy. And I was like, that looks like a super fun time. What is this? All Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. I am gonna keep this one, but if I don't read it in the next year, I'm gonna toss it. The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. I think they did a Netflix series on this, or a movie, and I haven't watched it because I knew I owned the book. Colleen Hoover, Reminders of Him. People give her a lot of flack. Like, it's not award-winning artistry, but they're good novels. They're a fun time. That's why you read them. What did I say? Book number 1, we're saving it for the end. I've decided. Book 109! What did I say? 47, that is more like it. The Girl from Widow Hills, a novel by Megan Miranda. I don't remember ever purchasing this book. Literally never in my life have I seen this book. I'm so confused and not for me. Just gives not for me vibes. The City of Fallen Angels by the author of Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. John Burnett. I didn't know they were the same author. That makes so much sense. Same reason. It just looks like intriguing and thought-provoking and kind of a fun time. Okay. Between Before and After, Maureen Doyle McKeary. You follow a little 14-year-old girl while she is hunting down secrets for her that pertain to her author mother, who just tells other people's stories and forgets about her own. I'm excited. See, I pick good books. I just have to read said books. 20. They Both Die in the End by Adam Silvera. I've heard the sequel is not great. I purchased this book because me and my friend, who I do like more creative production style stuff with, had a little book club going. We read Sharp Objects by Gilligan Flynn together, and I was like, oh, I'll pick the next book. I think it should be They Both Die at the End. I went ahead and purchased it. I don't think he ever did. And we only read the one book together. And then he moved. He's in Princeton now and chasing his dreams of being a movie maker. And I love him with all of my heart. And you should go watch his new short film that released on December the 13th of 2024. It's called Denied and Crucified. And I think he did an incredible job, and I'm so proud of him and all that he does, and I couldn't speak more highly of him. So thank you, Connor Odom, for teaching me how to edit and giving me a love for making videos. So proud of you. Go watch his short film. House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron Craig. Yes. Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I keep going to buy this book and thinking, I think it's on the shelf in paper. I think it's on the shelf in paper. It is on the shelf in paper, and I really want to read this book. It seems so intriguing. I want to read the whole series. I want to be basic like everyone else. 42 is Killing Kryptonite. Destroy What Steals Your Strength by John Bevere. I stole this from my mom. Ooh, The Drafter is one... It's by Kim Harrison. I did start it and got a good way through it, just not all the way through it. So I am going to keep this one. I do still want to read this one really badly. I think I started it in the middle of a book slump and then put it down and then just never picked it back up. Ooh, rip. And what do you know? It is another Colleen Hoover book. This one is It Ends With Us, which they just did the movie about, and I still haven't read the book, so I haven't watched the movie. This is Emmanuel's Veins by Ted Dekker. It does not have a book sleeve. I would love to get another copy, like just a new copy that does have the sleeve on it, so it'll look pretty on my bookshelf with the other books, but I am still going to keep this one until I can replace it. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, V.E. Schwab. And this is a special edition that my friend bought for me that's red instead of the black, and it's got the pretty inserts, and I just haven't gotten around to... Ah! I didn't know it had a ribbon! Ah! I didn't know it had a ribbon! I didn't know it had a ribbon. That changes so many things. It just feels so special with a ribbon. The Kingdom of Bach, Marie Lu. I've read some other things by Marie Lu. I think Marie Lu wrote the Legend trilogy, and I absolutely loved that in high school. So honestly, I'm really kind of excited to see the Kingdom of Bach, or is it the Kingdom of Bach? Somebody, is it pronounced like the musician, or is it pronounced like Bach? Well, Bach would be with an H, wouldn't it? I'm dumb. Resistant, a novel. I started this. It is about a biochemical weapon. I work in a pharmacy, so I was like, ooh, this is going to be really interesting. I read the first 4 chapters, and I remember just like not enjoying it. It's about a man who like fills in for his boss at a conference, and there's a biochemical weapon, I think, let loose at the conference, and he's the only person who can help them figure out what it is or something like that. And it just like, it sounded fun in theory. It was not super fun in execution in the beginning, and I just couldn't stick to it. So we're just gonna give it to somebody else who might like it better. Defiance by C.J. Redwine. I got this book the same time I got Legends and Partials and a couple of other like post-apocalyptic books, and I just haven't read it yet. I don't know why. It's a YA dystopian. We're keeping her. We're gonna read her. Hopefully this year. 'Tis the goal. World War Z, An Oral History of the Zombie War by Max Brooks. Based on the movie that I never watched because I kept saying, oh, I'll read the book first. She a chonk? Oh, no wonder. I was wondering where this was. An Instance of the Finger Post by Ian Pears. Pears? I probably butchered that. This was the first book that I wrapped for this challenge of mine. This was the last book. You can see where the paper has given way and the tape does not stick. The very first book that I wrapped, that I said, I'm gonna pull them out of a little jar and pick for myself. Book number 1 was Dracula by Bram Stoker. Do I have 2 copies of this? Is this the unabridged version? Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. If I have another copy of Dracula by Bram Stoker, I will get rid of this one. If I do not, I will keep this one. So we're gonna keep him for now. And the very last book that I wrapped, which was done pretty poorly as you can see, was Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. Let Them Fear Her. That sounds so fun. I'm super into this. Oh yeah, I don't know what this is. It's got beveled edges. Some stories are so beautiful, so brutal that they claw at your heart and refuse to let go. Welcome to the world of Wicked Saints, an epic, passionate novel that you won't soon forget. Prepare to meet a girl named Nadia who hears the whisper of the gods inside her head. A prince surrounded by desperate suitors and deadly assassins. A monster hidden behind pale, tortured eyes and a smile that cuts like a knife. The path of these 3 characters become entwined during a centuries-long war filled with sinners and saints, magic and mysteries, and star-crossed romance that threatens to tip the scales between dark and light forever. Ah! Enemies to lovers! That's what I'm getting. So let's reevaluate. I think I'm going to keep the Sasquatch Hunter's Almanac. I'm going to give it a fair shot. I don't promise anything, but I'm gonna give it a fair shot. Now, Dark Cities and the Mysterious Benedict Society. I think I'm gonna nix some. So, with that being said, I got rid of 14 books today, which means I made room on my shelf for 14 books today. All of that being said, I know this was a very long video. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for going through all of my books. Now you know exactly what I have on my bookshelf, so if you would like to see me read something specific from this video, leave it in the comments, and I'll do a vlog dedicated specifically to that book and books of the like, if it's a short one. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe, and then if you go ahead and hit the little bell icon, you'll be notified every time that I post, which hopefully coming up in 2025 is more regularly. My life has been just a little bit hectic, so I'm trying to get back on track, but thank you guys so much for being here and going through all of my books with me and making a giant mess in my living room. I'm gonna go put all these back on the shelf so they have a home, and I thank you so much for sticking with me. I'll see you in the acknowledgements. Bye!